This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Brittany is away tonight. An increased police presence in 3 areas of the city will continue through the summer. The Manitoba government is extending a program that pays Winnipeg police officers to work overtime to crack down on violent crime and retail theft. And as the CBC's Josh Crabb reports, business owners are calling for a more permanent solution.
Business is good in the Exchange District for Into the Music record store owner Greg Tunn, but there's a problem that takes a bite out of his bottom line.
And that's the reality of working in retail, is that there is always a certain amount of theft that goes on.
Tunn is glad to see Winnipeg Police and the Manitoba government are extending their violent crime and retail theft initiative.
We cannot allow organized crime and chaos to operate unchecked in our communities.
Justice Minister Matt Wiebe says the province is spending a total of $1.16 million. That'll keep the program, which started last month, running until the end of August. It's used to pay Winnipeg police officers overtime to work in the Exchange District, Osborne Village, and the West End. Their goal is to have more of a presence in those areas to cut down on crime.
It is taxing, so we're expanding the overtime duties to different members of the service, but we're confident we can maintain the same service delivery.
During the first 4 weeks of the program, officers responded 484 times to disturbances, people refusing to leave a business, or people sleeping in doorways or on sidewalks. Police made more than 1,100 storefront visits to check in with business owners, and they made 203 arrests, largely for outstanding warrants and theft.
So those are above and beyond what we would normally be doing in terms of arrests. So yes, those wouldn't be occurring if it wasn't for this project.
The Justice Minister says the province and police are still figuring out what to do at the end of August when the funding ends. We've heard from several business owners, including some here in the Exchange, and they all agree they want the increased police presence to continue.
We would like to see beat officers, full-time in the Exchange District, and if that can start to happen in the fall, that would be fantastic.
Tunn wants the program to continue too.
The officers have been in, they introduced themselves, they talked about the service they can provide, they let us know that they could be here in a very, very short period of time.
While he hasn't had to call them for help yet, he's glad to know this summer they're not far away. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Harm reduction advocates are calling on the Winnipeg Folk Festival to provide drug testing to keep festival goers safe. Manitoba's largest music festival kicks off tomorrow. Arlene Last-Kolb at Mums Stop the Harm says drugs like fentanyl are ending up in many of the substances that people are taking at festivals. In a statement, the Winnipeg Folk Festival says it would require a federal exemption to provide testing and special insurance. Last-Kolb says if that's the case, people need to test before they go.
That if you're going to attend events like this, there is no drug testing. So get your drugs tested before you go, or don't take something that's given to you. Don't do that, okay? Because we don't know what's in it anymore. I'm just asking for little preventive measures beyond Narcan and naloxone.
The Folk Festival says its security and first aid teams carry naloxone kits to prevent overdose, but Last-Kolb says that does not always work. There are now 9 confirmed cases of listeriosis linked to a Canada-wide recall of some plant-based beverages. All 9 of those cases are in Ontario. 5 of the people have been hospitalized. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency recalled certain Silk and Great Value brands of oat, almond, and coconut refrigerated beverages this week. You're seeing them on your screen here. They say they may be contaminated with listeria. Symptoms may start suddenly and include vomiting, nausea, cramps, severe headache, constipation, or fever, but more severe illness, which can take as long as 70 days to appear, may lead to brain infection, meningitis, and blood infection in newborns and older adults. The 18 recalled products were made by Danone with best before dates up to and including October 4th of this year. If you have these recalled products in your home, you should throw them away or return them. The Assembly of First Nations is backing calls for an independent inquiry into the deaths of 4 Indigenous women in Winnipeg. Chiefs at the AFN's General Assembly in Montreal voted to support an investigation into the early decisions not to search a Manitoba landfill for the women's remains. CBC's Rosanna Hempel has the story.
The Assembly of First Nations is calling on the Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba to establish a commission that will launch the inquiry. The group of First Nations has directed its national chief, Cindy Woodhouse, to ask Anita Neville in a letter. They want the inquiry to focus on the police investigation into the deaths of 4 women killed by admitted serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky. They also wanted to look at the decisions made by police and the former provincial government not to search the Prairie Green landfill for the remains of 2 victims. Cambria Harris is the daughter of Morgan Harris, whose remains are believed to be in that landfill. Cambria spoke at the Assembly before the resolution passed without opposition.
When you don't search a landfill, you're setting a dangerous precedent that our women are trash and that they're going to stay there forever. You're sending that to an entire community, and you're sending that to a nation at that. So we're taking back that precedence, and we're taking back our value and our power by searching the landfill, which we have fought hard for over the last 2 years.
The resolution calls on Neville to appoint First Nations commissioners. It also says AFN and the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs should work together on the scope of the inquiry. Morgan Harris's cousin Melissa Robinson alleges police failed her family.
Well, here we are a year and a half later, now doing it when they said they couldn't. So I think back over the last year and a half, the heartache that we've had to go through, how my nieces have had to grieve in front of everybody across this country. And for what? When the police should have done their job. They should have at least tried.
CBC has requested comment from Neville and Winnipeg Police. On Thursday, a judge will deliver his decision in the criminal case against Skibitsky. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, still at that AFN General Assembly, CBC News has learned that Ottawa is offering $47 billion over the next 10 years to reform First Nations child welfare. AFN chiefs held a closed-door discussion about the details yesterday. The offer is double the amount that Ottawa originally offered. The feds initially set aside $40 billion for First Nations child welfare, half for compensation, the other half for long-term reform. Some chiefs who spoke with CBC after that meeting had mixed reaction.
We have to be able to analyze things. We have to be able to make sure that we're looking at what the system's looking, what's the effects, what are the things that are going to be looking different, to be able to say this is a good deal, not a good deal. I don't know what the deal is, right?
You know, First Nations children have spent enough time outside of their community, loss of identity. Now is the time to ensure that children who are in care have their culture, they have their language, and they have that accessibility to that.
First Nations leaders will get the chance to vote on the final deal in September. That is when the AFN holds a special child welfare assembly here in Winnipeg. Well, in this digital age, our special moments are instant. A click of our phone captures and can even share it. That's why a Winnipeg man knew he'd found a treasure all in a box in a basement. CBC's Zabina Ahmed brings us more.
Dwayne Hines was cleaning the basement of the pharmacy where he works when he stumbled upon vintage photos. Hines shows us the box of unclaimed pictures dating back to the 1960s.
Because we're looking at, what, 60 years ago, like 58 years ago, this is really something from history that you're actually opening up like an archaeologist, you know what I mean, opening up a tomb.
Wedding pictures, family portraits, vacations, or personal moments.
I'm from a generation where pictures are very important because that was all we had back then for history and past experiences and that sort of thing. So I knew I had a responsibility to get these pictures out to the people or the relatives of them. So
Hines posted about it on a Facebook group.
I'm overwhelmed. Just this little box made such a great impact. And
in one case, it's all that's left after a woman lost everything in a house fire.
And so now this one package of pictures is all she has, so she's coming to pick them up tomorrow. And she's saying that it was her mother's handwriting and that sort of thing on the package, so it's going to be really precious to her. Oh, E. Rudolph, 792 Stella Avenue.
Hines says people are already coming to claim photos. Cheryl McNabb is one of them.
This is my late grandma, my grandma Violet, and we're excited about whatever kind of pictures that we can take of her, have of her, because there's a lot. But these are going to be the missing link to somebody who's in the family. You're going to make a lot of people happy.
I'm hoping.
Totally.
Yeah, thank you.
Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Okay.
Over 100 people took to the streets in downtown Winnipeg last night, protesting Russia's war against Ukraine. This comes a day after Russian airstrikes killed at least 44 people, including 4 children at the Okmadit Children's Hospital in Kyiv. Alla Zerzva worked as a pediatric anesthesiologist at that hospital before coming to Winnipeg 9 months ago.
I was really surprised that a lot of people are here. It's very important for all of us be far from home, but stay in as a Ukrainian community here.
Zarzva says she knew of a nephrologist who died in the attack. The hospital confirms one of its doctors was killed and its dialysis building was destroyed. And that leads us to a first check on our weather, and we're going to get right into it because there's a lot to talk about tonight. First up, the heat across Western Canada. You can see that heat warning now encompassing all of northwestern Ontario, south, central, and most of northern Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, into the BC interior. We're looking at a couple of days here, at least in Manitoba, of some very hot conditions, along with a severe thunderstorm watch and some warnings in northern Manitoba, particularly for Lynn Lake, Leaf Rapids, into Dooley Lake. And I also have an air quality statement to tell you about tonight. This for Flin Flon, Lynn Lake, north to the Nunavut border because of wildfire smoke that has been kind of dragged along the jet stream into the northern prairies from Alberta and the Northwest Territories. This is giving us air quality concerns in northern Manitoba. Here's a look at some of our temperatures today. 29 degrees right now in Winnipeg and Dauphin, 27 in Brandon, the Pas at 32 degrees right now, 21 in Lynn Lake, where we did see the temperature really come down about 12 degrees since those thunderstorms rolled through. Here's a look at some of the humidex values, the feels like temperatures, feeling closer to 40 through the Parkland region in Swan River and the Pas, feeling like 35 right now in Winnipeg. So here's a look at satellite radar. Not a lot to show you besides some of those building thunderstorms north of Flin Flon into the Lynn Lake area there. Otherwise, mainly sunny really across the board, across the prairie provinces today, and that's what we can expect as we get into your Thursday. Maybe a little bit of instability still along that line through Thompson into Shamattawa first thing in the morning. Otherwise, we're looking at mainly sunny sky with a few more thunderstorms rolling through the late afternoon tomorrow. Into the southern part of the province, we start Friday mainly sunny once again as well, and we're looking at the potential, at least overnight Friday into Saturday, of maybe some thunderstorm activity. So we'll keep our eye on that. Best risk for thunderstorms tomorrow through sort of the northern part of the province, Thompson, Lynn Lake, and south to Flin Flon and Grand Rapids. Could see hail up to the size of golf balls, some very strong winds, and some heavy rain. Looking at your forecast temperatures, I wanted to give you a peek at sort of our afternoon temperatures tomorrow, up to about 32, 33 degrees in southern Manitoba, and overnight lows really not going much further than about 20 degrees overnight across southern Manitoba. 30-degree weather sticks around into the weekend, and we get a cool off in your 7-day forecast, which I'll show you a bit later. The Broadway Neighbourhood Centre is inviting Winnipeggers to relax. They're running free yoga classes at their green space at noon every Thursday till the end of August. You just show up, the instructor will give you a mat and everything else you need. We checked out the first class last week.
Start by welcoming all sounds that we can hear coming from around us. I think recreation is always a good thing for every community, and in this community it can really bring people together. This community has a pretty wide demographic, and any kind of community building effort is important, and this is in the physical domain, not the cognitive one. We started at the beginning of June, and it's built up to about 10 or so, in a mixture of, I would say, elders and students, people who work in the community and people who live in the community.
It's a great place. You meet friends, things to get away. It's great for people who work when have time to go in the evening and they're busy when they get home. So you come here, you get 1 hour and that's it. And you know, even it's hot, we're tough. I am sweaty, but I feel good. I sweat. I mean, today was extremely hot too. Humidex very high, but it's great. You lose more weight that way too.
There's so many domains, right? There's physical, emotional, spiritual, cognitive. I feel as though what we do here, whether it's called yoga or not, addresses all those domains and in a really special way because it's through the body and everyone's got one. So no matter how different or the same they are. So yeah.
So if you're heading to that tomorrow, bring lots of water. We'll talk about the heat still ahead, how the city and community groups are making sure everyone stays cool, plus debunking misleading information about sunscreen. Stay with us. Well, the city of Winnipeg is opening up 8 hydration centers for people to get water in this heat. Leisure centers and libraries will also be available as cooling stations. Community 204 is among the many groups that are also keeping an eye on the city's most vulnerable. I spoke with coordinator Alexis Tashnek earlier today. Well, we've tried to find a bit of shade here in Osborne Village. Alexis, thanks for your time today.
No problem. It's good to see you.
So I want to ask, how are you helping people beat the heat here as we're looking at sort of a prolonged stretch of warm temperatures?
Well, we generally will have water bottles, reusable and disposable. The reusable ones, we used to have a hydration station that was kind of over down in the peninsula of homelessness, which is kind of like Higgins and Maine. So we would have like water to fill the water bottles for everybody, and they would come by and refill as they needed. The disposable water, if we picked up cases, if we ran out, there was times we would do that throughout the city. But mainly our focus is kind of in the condensed area of homelessness.
Right. So what are you looking for when you're out and you're seeing people who are unhoused or unsheltered? What are you looking for, especially when we're seeing hot and muggy temperatures like we are now?
Well, I mean, you can see that they're sweaty, they're hot. A lot of them are extremely tanned, and so I want to make sure that they're feeling okay. They're hydrated if they've had any water. If they haven't, then, supply them with the water. If we are unable to take care of them medical-wise, then we would make the appropriate calls, whether that would be Main Street Project or DCSP, or if worse comes to worse, 911.
How important is it that we are checking on our unhoused and our vulnerable populations as we get into the summer months here?
It's extremely important. You want to treat them just like you would your own family, your own children. A lot of people just seem to think, you just keep walking by, they're just wanting money. But, sometimes it's just that simple hello to see how they're doing in their mental health, and just asking them the questions like, hey, have you had any water today? No, you haven't? Hey, I've got some water in the back of my car. I'll be right back and I'll bring you some. It's definitely important. They appreciate just that bottle of water, on a hot day like today.
Speaking of bottles of water, if folks have donations, if they want to help people who are outdoors in weather like this, how can they help you guys?
We do take donations, and our location's at 143 Smith. It'll be at the top floor, and you can drop off cases of water or reusable water bottles up there too.
So water's important. You may have noticed I was not wearing a suit. I was wearing lighter, more breathable clothing out there today. But sunscreen is also important during days like this. But misleading information has been circulating all over TikTok these days, telling people to stop using sunscreen or they'll get cancer. Some posts have racked up close to 1 million views, but as Tashana Reed shows us, these claims contradict decades of scientific evidence about the dangers of UV radiation and the benefits of sunscreen.
To stabilize it and make it
It's a trending topic. Online influencers taking aim at sunscreen.
Sunscreen is a scam, and here's why.
I never wore sunscreen.
These are actually more dangerous than you burning.
Mainstream sunscreens. Making claims to hundreds of thousands of viewers, it does more harm than good.
These sunscreens that are on the market today are mostly toxic, and we know that they can actually cause cancer.
But get the sun, don't get the sunscreen.
This dermatologist says that couldn't be further from the truth.
Sunscreen is one of the #1 things that helps us prevent cancer. So the thing that causes cancer, particularly skin cancer, is the sun.
Sunscreen protects skin from the sun's ultraviolet radiation. There are 2 types of products, mineral and chemical, and both work in different ways to block harmful rays from being absorbed in our skin.
But you look at the whole breadth of the data that's available, and on the whole, it shows that all these chemicals are safe, which is why they're Health Canada approved.
Quebec's Order of Chemists even released a statement saying the misinformation circulating online could endanger public health, adding these influencers generally don't have the scientific expertise to assess chemical safety.
The people who are talking to you, who are they? What's their credential? Where did they get this information from?
Is there proof?
And now a counter movement, including medical experts, are debunking these myths online.
There is no evidence showing that sunscreen ages you.
Still, at this Toronto beach, sunscreen isn't a priority for everyone.
Don't feel the need for it, especially with the chemicals that are in sunscreens.
Most days I don't put any at all.
Well, what you really want to do is protect yourself against the carcinogen that's coming from the sun's rays.
About 65% of melanoma cases, the deadliest form of skin cancer, are caused by UV radiation, but it is preventable, say experts.
Even one blistering burn as a child or a young adult doubles your risk of melanoma.
To avoid the risks, experts say use a sunscreen of SPF 30 or higher year-round, that adults apply 2 to 3 tablespoons every 2 hours, and to only take medical advice from trusted professionals. Tashana Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
So how long does this heat last? And when is the best time to take your dog for a walk? I've got answers to both of those questions coming up after the break. So when should you take your dog for a walk? Probably first thing in the morning is probably your best bet for that. 22 degrees first thing, 32 by the afternoon, feeling closer to 38 degrees, and 30 in the afternoon. This is Lily. Thanks, Susan, for sending this picture, and talkback@cbc.ca is where you can send your pics to. We're looking at temperatures 32 for Thursday and Friday. 30 again for Saturday with the risk of thunderstorms through the later part of the day, and then we get a bit of a reprieve as we get into next week. Well, it turns out creating great works of art is child's play, at least for one German toddler. This mini Jackson Pollock is our daily lift. So this is 2-year-old Laurent Schwartz. He still may be in diapers, actually, but he's already making a name for himself in the art world. His paintings, get this, are selling on the international market for a whopping $10,000 or more. His mom says it all started a year ago on holidays. He began painting in the kids' club at their hotel and hasn't stopped since. She's already gotten countless messages from people who are huge fans. By the way, all that money is being saved up, and he has to wait to spend any of it till he turns 18. Better artist than I am. The best I can do is probably macaroni art. Thanks for being with us. Brittany's back with us tomorrow. See you then.